Welcome to History Decoded. In this episode, we unravel the story of the Battle of Antietam, fought on September 17, 1862. This battle marked a critical moment in the American Civil War, a day of unimaginable bloodshed, strategic missteps, and profound consequences. Stay with us as we delve into the events, the players, and the significance of this violent day in American history. By the summer of 1862, the American Civil War had raged for over a year. Confederate General Robert E. Lee had led his Army of Northern Virginia to several impressive victories, including his stunning success in the Second Battle of Bull Run. Emboldened by these victories, Lee set his sights on a bold invasion of the North. His goal? To take the war out of the South, gain supplies, and possibly even sway European powers to recognize the Confederacy. But his ambitions would soon be tested near a small creek in western Maryland, Antietam. As Lee's army crossed into Maryland, Union General George B. McClellan was tasked with stopping the invasion. McClellan had control of the Army of the Potomac, but he was cautious, often criticized for his hesitance to act. This time, however, he received a stroke of luck that should have made all the difference. Union soldiers discovered a copy of Lee's battle plans wrapped around cigars, revealing that Lee's forces were divided. McClellan now had a rare opportunity to strike a crippling blow, but time was of the essence. Despite having Lee's plans in hand, McClellan moved slowly, allowing Lee to regroup at Sharpsburg, a small town near Antietam Creek. It was here, on the morning of September 17, 1862, that the battle began. The fighting would rage for 12 grueling hours, from dawn to dusk, with attacks and counterattacks in three main phases: the cornfield, the sunken road, and Burnside's bridge. Each phase, a horror of its own. Let's start with the cornfield. At dawn, Union General Joseph Hooker led his men in a ferocious attack on the Confederate left flank. The cornfield, a 30-acre patch of land, quickly became a killing ground as sides poured thousands of men into the fray. Artillery and musket fire tore through the soldiers, with neither side able to hold the ground for long. By mid-morning, the cornfield had changed hands multiple times, littered with the bodies of thousands. Some accounts describe the field as being so thick with dead and wounded that soldiers could hardly move without stepping on them. Next, the battle shifted to the center, to what would forever be known as the Bloody Lane. Here, Confederate troops had entrenched themselves along a sunken road, providing a natural defensive position. For hours, the Union soldiers hurled themselves at this position, wave after wave, only to be repelled by withering Confederate fire. The road soon filled with the bodies of the dead and dying, a horrific scene of carnage. But late in the morning, Union forces finally broke through, outflanking the Confederate defenders. By the time the fighting ended, over 5,000 men lay dead or wounded in that one stretch of road, a grim testament to the brutality of the conflict. While the fighting raged in the cornfield and at Bloody Lane, a third act of violence unfolded at Burnside's bridge on the Confederate right. Union General Ambrose Burnside was tasked with crossing Antietam Creek to attack the Confederate flank. However, Confederate sharpshooters, positioned on the high bluffs overlooking the bridge, turned it into a deadly bottleneck. For hours, Burnside's men struggled to cross, suffering heavy casualties as they were picked off from above. Only in the late afternoon did the Union soldiers manage to force a crossing, but by then, reinforcements led by Confederate General A.P. Hill had arrived, preventing a Union breakthrough. By nightfall, both sides were utterly exhausted. The fields around Antietam were soaked in blood. The battle had resulted in nearly 23,000 casualties, including more than 3,600 killed, making it the bloodiest single day in American history. Despite the staggering losses, neither side could claim a decisive victory. Lee's army, battered but not broken, retreated back into Virginia. McClellan, despite his numerical advantage and the opportunity to crush Lee's forces, chose not to pursue. This indecision would cost him dearly, as President Abraham Lincoln, frustrated by McClellan's lack of aggression, would soon remove him from command. So, if the battle ended in a draw, why is Antietam considered a turning point in the Civil War? The answer lies not in the battlefield itself, but in its aftermath. President Lincoln had been waiting for a Union victory to issue a bold new directive, the Emancipation Proclamation. While Antietam wasn't the overwhelming victory he had hoped for, it was enough. On September 22, 1862, just days after the battle, Lincoln announced the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring that all slaves in the Confederate States would be free as of January 1, 1863. This transformed the war. No longer was it solely about preserving the Union. It became a fight to end slavery. The proclamation gave the North a moral cause, one that would prevent European powers from siding with the Confederacy. It also allowed for the enlistment of black soldiers into the Union Army, adding strength to the Northern cause. Antietam was a brutal day in American history, a day of unimaginable loss and suffering. But it was also a turning point, strategically, politically, and morally. Lee's invasion of the North had been stopped. The momentum of the war began to shift, and the cause of the Union took on new meaning with the promise of freedom for millions. As we reflect on Antietam, we remember not only the dead and wounded, but the profound consequences this battle had on the course of the Civil War and American history. Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of the most important days of the Civil War. If you enjoyed this episode of History Decoded, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a moment of history brought to life. Until next time, keep exploring the past. It's all around us.